All right. Okay. All right. I think we're all good. So I'm on a mountain. If you couldn't tell, I wanted to film this video today. I woke up a little bit late. I woke up around like 12 or so. I told myself I was gonna wake up at 8. Decided to get dressed and shoot the video outside today because why not? I gotta do my workout regardless. So yeah, I was driving around, saw a mountain. I was like, fuck it, we could climb it, free will and all that. So yeah, today's video, I got my little notebook. Today's video is about, I guess, the lessons I learned from going to a private Catholic school. So for those of you who don't know me, I went to a Catholic school for middle school and high school. 2 separate ones, actually 3 separate ones, but I left the first one because fuck that, she was gay. But yeah, I went to Catholic school, and for those of you who've never been, I didn't really like it. You have to take this class called theology. It's basically religion. You have to take religion class and you have to learn about the Bible. And while I was going to Catholic school, I just didn't like it. And you know, it just wasn't fun. Didn't really enjoy it at all. Like, not at all. There wasn't a single aspect while I was in that moment where I was like, wow, this is so fun. No, like, you just had way less freedoms in comparison to all of my other friends who went to public schools. Even when it came down to your academics, you were like forced to take certain classes. I only had one elective in high school, and that was senior year. I got to choose one class. So yeah, that wasn't like common. I think majority of people are allowed to choose their electives, but not me. By the way, I was gonna wear a sweater. I was wearing a sweater, and I just threw on a random undershirt. This is like, you know, a shirt I go to sleep in. So it says I have 20/20 vision. I wrote it on because I went to like a white lie or white t-shirt contest or whatever the fuck, like years ago in college. So yeah, disregard it. But yeah, so some of the lessons I learned, I'll just get right into it. Let's see. Yeah, upon reflection, it wasn't that bad. Now that I'm like, you know, older and I'm able to look back on the experience as a whole, and I guess, you know, look on the opportunities and the lessons I learned from just going there. I guess I learned a decent amount in comparison to most of my peers who probably went to public school. And yeah, I'll just get into some of those aspects right now. I hope I'm still recording. I don't know. But yeah, so, okay. So one of the first things I learned in high school was, or I guess this was in middle school actually, we had this thing called Teen Star. And it sounds cringe to say, but it was basically a health/religion class where 2 priests in training, seminarians, I think that's what they're called, 2 people from the seminary would basically come every Wednesday and take the class for a period, and they'd split the class up into boys and girls, and obviously I'm a boy, so I went with the boys. I think the girls had something similar where they had a sister, which is like a nun, and you know, they'd basically just speak about the human body, and you know, it was around like 8th grade, 7th grade, so it was around puberty. So I guess their whole gist of their goal was probably just like maybe teen pregnancies, STDs, all of that nature, like a normal health class would, or the objective one is, but you know, you get to talk about Bible and God. So it honestly wasn't that bad. Like that, I remember being in that class. The seminaries were hella chill, super relatable, super down to earth, and they weren't, I guess, how a lot of people paint religion out to be. And this is coming from somebody who went to Catholic school and, you know, absolutely hated, you know, learning about God and religion. So if I'm saying that probably means a little bit, because I was super like anti, I guess, like religion, anti-God, growing up because of, being forced to learn about, what are the Beatitudes? List them 1 through 10 perfectly. Capitalization, like you get points. It was so cancer. But yeah. One of the big things I learned in that, I guess, class was the I guess it's a hormone called oxytocin. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, I'm probably gonna butcher this, but oxytocin is basically a hormone or chemical in your brain that attaches you to people. Whenever you like have sex or you just touch them physically, it's like the bonding hormone within our brains and our bodies. So you're bonded to your spouse, you're bonded to your child. Like for example, I believe oxytocin was released during pregnancy within women to bind them to the child. Oxytocin is also released during intercourse to help you bind you to your mate. And yeah, it's just like a hormone that exists. And I remember they were talking about us, or they were teaching us this, I guess, message of like, don't fuck around everywhere, because it'll basically lower your oxytocin's effectiveness. So the way that they taught us this was, I remember they got David's arm and they got a piece of tape, and they said, this is the first time you have sex, and this is just like an example. And they put the tape on his arm, and they basically said, okay, now this is your first hookup. Boom, it's on his arm. He's like, okay. And then take it off. That's the first one. You break up, or that's your first girlfriend that you have sex with, and that little break off he was like, fuck, naturally, because he had pretty, I think they picked him because he had pretty hairy arms, which is fucked, but I guess it was to really emphasize the point. So he was like, they're like, shit, fuck. And then they said this is the second time, and they put it in again, and it hurt, not as much as the first time, but it also didn't stick as long. And they did it a bunch of times. I think they did it like 6 or 7 times, and by the 6th or 7th time, they were like putting it on, and it was like limp, and it was just like, it was basically like paper. It wasn't sticking, and it also wasn't hurting. And I guess this message was to really like hammer down the point of like, having sex with a lot of different people and bonding with a lot of different people kind of, I guess, numbs you to the effectiveness of oxytocin. And yeah, that was an interesting thing I learned. And I've definitely seen definitely does stuff to people when you like have a lot of sex with a lot of different people. I think it kind of like kills your soul a little bit. And I'm not gonna say like, I've had sex with a bunch of people, but I think I'll just say I've had like I think 6 or 7 bodies. That's so weird to say like that, but yeah, it doesn't feel good. Like, yeah, sure, you're horny, and then like you fuck, it's like, ooh, this is great. And then after that, that PNC, that post-nut clarity hits, and yeah, all of a sudden it's like, dude, like, what are you doing here? Like, get out. And that's kind of fucked up, because at that point the girl's probably like really like trying to cuddle and stuff like that, and you realize that like, this person, I didn't really like them as much as I thought I did. But when you do it with somebody who you actually like, it low-key slaps, I'm not gonna lie, because that like post-nut cuddle, that PNC, not that post-nut clarity, that post-nut cuddle, shit goes crazy. Probably all the people in relationships would agree, but that goes back to the first stick with the first relationship. When it breaks, dude, it breaks, and it hurts. So yeah, be careful with that. So number 2, we went over the mathematical proof for the existence of God. I'm gonna check right now to see if this is still recording. Okay, we're good. We went over the mathematical proof that proves God exists. And they basically, to sum it up, because it was really, it was like a 2-hour-long fucking lecture that we watched over the course of like 2 periods or 3 periods in religion class. And I remember, this was in high school, after, I think it was maybe my junior year. So at this point, people started getting really good at debating, the existence of God, the church's practices in the past and in the present, pointing out plot holes, pointing out holes in the book. People started getting really good at debating, Bible, things with, our teachers and, our fellow classmates. And this was kind of like a oh shit, like they just use math. Because we would often like point out logic and, math and basically, make real world arguments for the, existence of, or not the existence of, or the positive of the church, or the church is a separate thing, but this was just to like prove God exists. And essentially, I don't want to yap too long on it, but I don't remember who it was, but it was basically a doctorate. I think it was somebody with a PhD in mathematics or like theoretical physics, and he also was a priest. He had like the little collar. I don't know if he was a priest. I didn't really pay attention. I wasn't that good of a student, especially not in religion. I fucking hated that shit. But this, video was mathematical proof that God exists based on probabilities. So given the set of, universe parameters that we have to make life here on Earth, everything from it went down to I don't remember it because it was 5-6 years ago now at this point. But they basically went down to the subatomic level and talked about the electrons and positrons and the way that they're set up within physics in order to create life, not just here but across all of the cosmos, and at least potentially, because in the book I don't remember what it says about aliens or anything. So I didn't really care, but yeah, they basically proved that life can exist here, life can exist anywhere, and with that being the case, and the fact that our life and society has evolved so much up until this point, I hope you could probably see this, I'm looking at a massive city right now. It's pretty improbable that there is no God, or there is no some sort of higher being that created everything. I think they also went into Big Bang Theory, and it was one of the big questions they also asked was who placed the little Big Bang? The little, what was the catalyst that caused the universe to expand with all of these specific rules and constants to create life? And I thought that was something interesting. I don't really rock with the church, but I think I'm an agnostic, which is a pretty interesting thing because I learned something else about that. We went into Dante's Inferno. If you read that book, you know the agnostics don't get a nice level of hell. But yeah. So what else? Oh, I learned how to debate, complex, emotionally charged topics in theology class. So going back to the whole debate thing of being able to speak about God, being able to speak about politics oftentimes, because these conversations would often arise where we would relate something to politics, or we would talk about politics and then relate it back to God, because they kind of all go hand in hand, especially when you're in a Catholic school. So yeah, we would talk about these things, and it really helped to have a specific forum or classroom discussion area of discussion where you can vent these complex questions that you have without being judged for being a fucking idiot, or if you did ask a fucking stupid ass question, you came at it in a very provocative way, in a way that you're just trying to provoke people would be yo, shut the fuck up, stop, But if you actually had a genuine question, people would often hear you out, and not just the other people in the classroom, but depending on the theology teacher, I'm not going to say all of them were perfect, but oftentimes we would have really, really, really good discussions about the meaning of life, or whether God exists, or just random shit, and I like those discussions. And something I've noticed as I've grown up is a lot of people don't like those discussions. They get really uncomfortable with those type of topics and discussions. They're not really open to other forms of thought, and I'm guilty of it too as well. You know, whenever you're uncomfortable with something, you don't really want to talk about it, especially not in a prolonged, I guess, scenario. It does make your like spine tingle, like your brain starts to get like starts to get kind of cringe. And you know, I understand that it's not for everyone, but I think it's good to challenge yourself, both physically and even mentally. And I think, you know, it does wonders for yourself, because it'll help you, I guess, rationalize things that you might not be able to comprehend in the moment. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. It kind of just raises your IQ. I think in layman's terms, I think it really did help raise my IQ. I'm not smart whatsoever. Actually, in the class, in my graduating class, I think it was dead middle. I think there was maybe 300 or 400 students. I was like 150 or 200 out of all of them. I wasn't very smart, or I guess relatively. It was a private Catholic school. It was kind of competitive. Actually, speaking about competitive, I actually have it in my notes as well. Just to really, I guess, give you perspective on, you know, the type of school I went to. Freshman year, when we were admitted to high school, they didn't welcome us to the school. Actually, one of the deans didn't welcome us. She said, "You are not welcome to school name." I don't want to dox myself, because it's not like a clouded school. It's not like Princeton or anything like that. But we had a lot of people who went to like Ivy Leagues, and our alumni list is pretty good. If I like one of the biggest alumni who came by was like a Supreme Chief Justice, whatever the fuck, I don't know. I probably gave it up already. If you want to figure it out, you can probably figure it out, from the Bronx. But our dean didn't welcome us to the school. She said, "You are not welcome to until you make it to sophomore year." And she addressed us as like a freshman class in the beginning. You know, we're all sitting down in the auditorium, and we're all wondering like, "Nick, what? Like, she tripped? Like, what are you talking about? We made it. Like, we're here." And at the end of freshman year, they had like a recap, or like a freshman, I guess, audience, or whatever the fuck. You know, you meet up with all your freshman buddies in the auditorium, and assembly. That's the word I'm talking about. A freshman assembly, and she told us to sit down in our homeroom lines within our auditorium, and she started just reading off lines. And mind you, a year has passed, so nobody really remembered, you know, what the fuck they said in the beginning of the year, because, you know, the year was already stressful enough. Nobody's like, who gives a fuck, you know? We're just probably like gonna have a recap, like, oh, this is probably something like we expect of you in sophomore year, da 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 da. Like, we're expecting random shit, like a yap session to come, and they don't say anything. They just start reading off names, and like, if they say, "Oh, if we read off your name, please stand up," and it's just start reading off names, and everyone's like, "Nigga, what are we doing? Like, what's going on here?" And after they get through the long ass list, I'm talking like half of the class is standing up at this point. Like, they said in the beginning of the year, look to the left of you, look to the right of you, look in front of you, look behind you. Two of those people, maybe even you, are not gonna be here come sophomore year. And when everyone was standing up and they made us call the names, people started realizing like, oh, wait, I'm standing up. Oh, my friends are standing up. The people I've been like, I went to middle school with and I came here with, or oh, the people who I've like, you know, developed really deep connections with are standing up. Fuck out of here, fly. And yeah, people started crying, and they said like, if you're standing up, please, you know, exit the auditorium, or the other dean will address you privately. And after that, you know, everyone left, basically like half of the class. I'm talking our school, our freshman class was like maybe 300, 400 students. And after that, we were down to like 200, barely. Yeah, it was a lot. It was definitely over half. And they just kicked them out based off of grades. Passing in my school was a 70, which is like a C. Our SEER was a 70. And if you got I think it was 3 classes failed out of your like 6 or 7 that you were supposed to take. You just failed. You got kicked out, and that was definitely traumatizing. And that scared a lot of people. So yeah, that's just a preface. Like the type of school I went to, it felt like I was in the fucking Hunger Games. It felt like I was in a, some sort of movie, like twisted, fucked up prison movie. Like it was horrible. But yeah, that was fun. One of the biggest things, or I guess not one of the biggest things, but another thing I learned that, or I guess like, looking back on it, as an adult, I could realize that even though I went through all that bullshit, people crying in the hallways, because, midterms week or quarterly tests or exams are coming around the corner and they need this test to pass. And like people are crying because they failed and, they might fail out the school now. Like people were legit crying. Like I remember being like an upperclassman and everyone wore uniforms so you could tell who was upperclassmen versus like underclassmen. And I remember seeing like sophomores like laid out on the floor as I'm walking to like a homeroom or something, like crying because the grades just got graded and they didn't pass, and they're at like real jeopardy of getting kicked out of the school. And that was a lot, but I guess looking back on it now, the fact that I made it through, I'm not the smartest person, I'm not the most driven person, but I'm happy I made it through, I guess. And I'm glad I learned those lessons. So like, just being able to debate, being able to talk about God, the existence of God mathematically, that's kind of always stuck with me. I'm not the biggest, religion head. I don't really like religion or the church. I'll probably get snapped by them for saying that. I don't really care. But I think God does exist. Do I fuck with, all of the church's teachings? No. Do I think that a lot of the stuff they say is really wishy-washy? Yeah. But, I think that's just organized religion as a whole. I personally believe that they all kind of say the same thing. It's like, just don't be an asshole. in a summary, it's kind of just a don't be an asshole book with like a bunch of, nice stories about what happens to people when they are assholes. So, yeah. It's a beautiful day, honestly. I hope I'm still recording. Let me check. Hey, I am. That's fucking lit, dude. Alright. And, yeah. Hope you like this video. If you like these sorts of videos, I'm gonna try and keep on posting them. Excuse me, miss. If you like these sorts of videos, I'm gonna keep on trying posting them every day. I'll probably try and, go outside more to vary up the scenery. Also just because I like going outside. And I like, exploring. This shit's kind of peaceful. It's very beautiful as well. And I'm often scared to even go outside, which is kind of cringe to say as like a 22-year-old man. But yeah, this is a topic that has been on my brain for a while. I often, whenever I talk to my peers, people in college, about their high school experiences, I often found that my high school experience, although similar, had some very big differences. The whole like talking about God scenario, very odd. Also, like, everyone thinks because you go to Catholic school, you're Catholic. Not how it works. Why are you bothering my camera, dude? Anyway, I think you fucked off. Yeah, I'm not Catholic. I never got confirmed or anything. They tried to get me, but nah, I go to we have like monthly mass, and I hit them with one of these, bless me, Father, and they'd be like, I remember when I was younger in middle school, I didn't know what that meant, and I would like eat the Eucharist, which is like a little piece of bread, which was always dry as fuck. They're like, but it's the body of Christ, allegedly. If you believe that, cool, doesn't hurt anybody, as long as you're not like chopping people up, be like,
blood. This blood is actual blood. Like,
That's crazy, dude. But I don't think anybody's doing that unless you're like in a cult. But yeah. I guess subscribe. Yeah. Share with, a bunch of friends, I guess. I don't know. That's about it. See ya. Hopefully I don't fucking die right now. Let's go. Peace out.